Hello, neighbor. How you doing? Thank you, every new listener. And thank you for the ones who will still listen much after release date. So I'm Chizuba Katie, host of Novels and Bits podcast. And I'll be reaching out to many of you individually. Thank you so much for actually giving this a listen. Now, this episode is how many days late? 5 days late from release date. And there will be no other episode this week. And it would actually be a miracle if this is releasing on Monday, like I intended to be. Because it's been wild, guys. You know, I have not done this since when I initially started releasing podcast shows. That is, give you a bit breakdown of what's going on in my life, but I have to. So I told you that I'm taking on some main things this season. In addition to that, I'm trying to register for NYC. That's Nigerian Youth Service Corps. You know, it's this 1 year mandatory thing for foreigners who don't know. So I'm registering for it. And let me tell you, the website is terrible. I don't know why anything Nigeria, if you're going to university or you're trying to do anything in Nigeria, they just have to put you through unnecessary stress. This registration started since Tuesday, and I've been at the cafe trying to get that done. This is Friday. I have made some success, but I'm not done registering because the network just keeps dragging. I have to do vigils, like really stay up late in the night and be pressing for hours to get one page done. It's wild. And in addition to that, I had like a training this week, Monday and Tuesday, virtual training. On top of that, I still have work in the evening. On top of that, I applied for a job. I didn't get it. Thank God. Really, thank God he has something better for me. And on top of that, I still, like, it's been a very wild week. I am behind on some of my generative AI classes. I mentioned it last episode that I'm doing that. So it's been so crazy. And the biggest part of all of this is that this is the longest episode yet I've ever done on this podcast. This is going to 2 hours. And it just gave me the idea that with everything going on in my life, I don't have so much time to edit, to post, to market. You know, I can't do all that on my own at the same time. So for now, this podcast is just going to be every other week. But then each episode will be like this long, almost 2 hours long. Like I'm just going to pack in a lot there and release it. So I know that this is happening once in 2 weeks. So the rest of the time I am attending to my classes, doing all the things I have to, and still showing up here, you know, introducing new people. Come on. I have like over 100 episodes on this podcast, and we're not yet at least 100,000 listens. We should be at least 100,000 listens. So I'm doing the groundwork behind in the marketing. And again, the best way you can help me, leave a review. Leave a review. Tell one person about it. Share the link to just one person. I'm not asking. Someone you know would at least love this girl's gist, this girl's voice, you know? So that's all I'm asking. And it's a lot. And thank you so much for your kind compliance. So now that I've gotten all that gist out of the way and I have told you what the future holds for us, let's dive in. Okay, this is the final part of Heat of the Everflame. Fun fact, as I'm recording this, I'm not done with the script. I'm recording this in 2 days. We're recording the first part of this on a Friday. The second part might likely be on a Saturday morning. And on this Saturday morning, I'm still going to go do my hair because my hair is not looking good right now. Again, why can life just suddenly get overwhelming? Regardless, I love to do this, which is why you will not find me. That is, you always find me here, releasing. Even if you don't want to listen, I have hope you still come back and listen. So I will still be here. So we're diving into Heat of the Everflame, the final part. Okay, our longest episode yet. So let's go. So where we ended things in the last episode, DM was doing prison break. I mean, she has become the photos queen after accidentally killing the king. I mean, she just had to, or he would kill her. It's his life or hers, really. And she wasn't even trying to kill him. She just stabbed him enough and, he bled out. He was actually trying to snap her neck at the moment. So yeah, it's not like she deliberately went for a gruesome kill or I will kill you because I hate you so much. No, she killed him. It's because it was her life or his. And a lot of people's lives were hanging on her. So she had to do what was necessary at the time. And he bled out. So again, she didn't directly kill him. He bled out. And now she's out there trying to save all those people. So that's where we ended things the last episode. And definitely there is this looming danger because nobody's coming to the cell because it's all bloodlocks. But they'll be waiting outside. So you've rescued those people. How are you going to get them to safety? Like I said, flatlands for miles. So how you want to do it? That is where we are at. Okay? Now, DM has finished rescuing the mortals. Yes, that's fine. That's done. Now, next thing, she goes to rescue the descendant. the people that have been dulled with Rymari powder for decades, most of them. And most of them kept in those cells. Why? Because they helped mortal rebels. Ines, that's the first descendant, the Aber's descendant, that DM freed from the first prison, that she repaired his legs, restored his magic and all. He is her guide to breaking out descended prisoners who would help her cause. And then they leave the few that are actually dangerous behind. She does double check he's telling the truth, using the Umbrous magic on the minds of the people. Also, she heals often, releases magic often, draining herself of magic. Precious, precious magic. Her chest is hollowing out. Most descended here are Abers, Montios, Meros, Sophos, and Faunos, the 5 realms. These are realms that mostly play by the rules. DM worries how the mortals and descended would work side by side, but thankfully her mom clasped hands with Ines. Her mom is like the leader of this mortal rebel. So if the leader is welcoming of a descended, the other ones are bound to like, oh yeah, let's fall in line with our leader. So it gets everybody moving. The Aber's descended help DM thicken cords and craft notes. She creates like vines, things they're going to climb, like a ladder made out of natural vines, so that people can climb out in that hollow that her magic created space, that tunnel space up above. You get. Now, Luther senses her low magic and he wants the descended there, including himself, to refill her, but she refuses because they all needed to protect themselves and get away. She would kiss him right now, like, okay, the whole, you're about to head into battle and you just want to kind of kiss your bro, but your mom is like, glaring. And she doesn't know which both of you are, and you're like, oh, well, honey boo, just stay over there. Let's not make this weird for mom. DM gets out first. Right now, the sun is setting. Sorry, her Gryvern, the thing that is, I hate calling Sarai a thing because she feels so human. You get, based on her relationship with DM and how she's connected with me, to us, the readers. So I don't like calling her anything. Sarai the Gryvern, that is DM's Gryvern, snarls, that animal, like a dragon. And it serves as a distraction needed so that DM can look down to see what are we up against. Oh my goodness, they are surrounded by several thousands of soldiers. She's afraid. Thankfully, when she sends the image to Luther, like the image of what she just saw, she sends it to his mind, he doesn't react. And instead, he starts instructing the others down there on what they have to do. Now, DM reaches for Andrea's lesson. Okay, that's her father, the commander, who's dead, to keep moving on to the very end. So she starts by smooth talking. These soldiers, but they don't buy it. The High General informs her they knew that king is dead, and their new king must have been down there too. She's asked to turn in herself as a prisoner of the crowns, but instead, DM makes her shadow magic swell around that to make a large enough gathering to push back the soldiers further. Now, she raises a very strong shield too. That's when the prisoners start getting out like an overturned anthill. So they are much. Sarai releases dragonfyre to, again, keep those soldiers away while the prisoners start escaping. Luther destroys a boat going for DM's head. Lieutenant wants, watch your back. If something happens to you, I'll suffocate this entire room in darkness. I love it. Orally looks afraid, although she's holding firmly to 2 children, one on her hip, one by her side. She now tells DM, be careful, my little warrior. Remember everything Andrea taught you. This is so warm. Luther is leading the mortals to safety, while DM rushes into the battle to go be the distraction. Sarai is a wall between the escaping mortals and the soldiers, although DM feels the spears that they're throwing against Sarai's hide. Her hide is like armor, but then there are soft sides of it that if you really hit, she'll bleed, she'll hurt. DM's magic is so weak when she throws it out at some soldiers that it barely has any effect on them. She now drops her shield. She prays and she's just like, okay, I'm going to drop the shield right now because it's raining me and I have nothing left. And when she drops her shield, they attack her with magic. And she makes it so theoretical, like, oh no, I'm dying. No, I'm bending. So they would just keep attacking her. But then the High General figures out you are the distraction. He now resolves to fighting her, and then having no weapons, she creates weapons out of shadow swords. It's her first time actually using shadow, magic swords to fight. And he now tells her, you think you can hide. You're not even in power in your own realm. There's no place on the continent where you'll be safe. And that hits DM so hard because, oh my, she's a fugitive. Regardless, she uses Faunos magic to make the horses buck, like the horses that the soldiers are getting on to go after the prisoners. So the horses throw the soldiers away and they get away and the rebels get it and, the prisoners get it and they use it to go to safety. That time that DM is trying to use Faunos magic to make the horses throw off those soldiers now, the High General takes that opening, stabs her beneath her ribs. She runs for another line of soldiers who don't know what's up, that she's absorbs magic, and they attack her with magic, mending her skin in the process. The High General stops them. He has already figured out DM's game. and that she is not trying to hurt anybody, but she's just trying to create a distraction. So he's like, you want the descendant to be attacking with magic, restoring you. I know your game. So he now sends mortal soldiers in. And DM now reveals, I'm the fortress queen. When she says, I'm the fortress queen, she now explains the descended prisoners what trick restore their magic, what trick open the blood locks on their cells. They now tell her, you woman, the blessed father would never choose. Diane releases her decay magic on the High General enough he realizes it's true. But that doesn't make a difference to him. He's like, kill her. There's hesitation on the part of the Montios who are caught in a political game. And that's when he now starts killing mortal soldiers with his own decay magic. And he now says that one would die for every 1 minute DM is still alive. Like one mortal soldier would die. So for that reason, they start fighting her because they're fighting for their lives. She is fighting with the shadow souls, even though she's trying not to kill them. And she's wounded. She's slowing. High General is just simply killing off more mortals. So something in her just snaps. Like, what is this thing I'm doing, Seth? She now orders him with her Umbra's magic. End yourself. And at this point, her magic is completely out. It's her last magic that she uses to ask him to end himself. And then throws off some of the mortals, like in a wild circle around her. She's exhausted. There's still so many on their feet running at her. She's a dead woman. But at least she's going down with the devil, aka the High General. But look who came for her. Sarai! Luther is on her back and he helps her up. Orally is also there too. And the High General, he does that himself. Very good. Now, they fly to meet with the escaped prisoners who mounted the horses that DM diverted their way using the furnace magic. And these escaped prisoners, they're away from danger because Sarai stayed behind to roast any soldiers chasing after them until the soldiers had to give up. It's quite dark right now, and DM talks away her crown so it doesn't draw attention to her. She's surprised to see mortals and descendants so united, in that mortals are riding the horses, while descendants sit behind to use their magic. Is among them, DM notices her leather bodysuit is torn up. Remember, she's wearing a bodysuit, that same one she wore for the challenge. And she'd been so lost in fighting. She didn't even notice that they were scrapping her and her clothes were tearing. No, she didn't notice it just now. It appears a human woman, Runa, who is like the leader right now of the mortal prisoners, and Ernest, kind of like the leader right now of the escaped prisoners, the descended side of them. Both of them are the leaders of this group, and they might be attracted to each other already. DM is surprised to learn Luther gave this escaped prisoners a very helpful map of Lemnos, showing them safe houses and guard posts to avoid. He also gave them gold to bribe if they need to bribe or to use as needed. They are not capital letters, N-O-T, not to go to Vance, but rather to Mora the Healer or a descended called Taran. Once on Lemnos ground, the descended don't have their magic, obviously, because they've entered a new realm. But being the queen of this realm, DM restores it using the fortune magic. She may not be able to use actual magic, but the fortune magic is different from the one you can use. So everyone here, they are willing right now to be on her army. Now, once is this trio alone, that is Luther, DM, and Orally. Orally is not having it over how familiar Luther is with the queen, addressing her as DM. DM goes along with it because she's honestly just tired. Luther thinks they should have another plan in case they cannot land in Lumnos. DM and Orally stubbornly believe they can. Luther wants, Your Majesty, my magic is low. Yours is gone. The army soldiers already tried to kill us once, and my father seems willing to do the same. If we're not careful, your brother might never get to reunite with her at all. DM wants to try by all means. She promised. Remember, I said last episode, no one asked her to promise, but she's acting on guilt right now in that need of, until I can reunite my family and redeem myself, So the first thing DM notices, first of all, is that everywhere is much more heavily guarded. She takes a flying path that makes Orally see where their home used to be, that now looks from a distance like a sinkhole. Orally mourns. Now approaching the palace, it's pure mayhem. Legions of guards are encircling the palace with no break between them. They send a bolt at them to shoot them out of the sky. It's not Remis ordering this. It seems that the Photos people are now acting on their own. They've taken over this realm. So many arrows are launched at them from the ground and the roof, and Luther can't shield for long as his reserves are so low. Tala is on a balcony, and DM's singular focus is reaching him. Next thing though, she's shot through his shoulder. Sarai feels it and turns away from the palace. Luther feeds her whatever little magic he has left, and she stops him. That is, Luther is feeding DM his magic. She wants to turn back and try again, but Luther thinks not. Orally thinks they can sneak into the palace, which is actually a better idea, but then everywhere is much more heavily guarded, and Orally was only able to sneak around the palace because Luther let her. Alice's regime is not going to be lax for Orally or anybody. Luther suggests they go to Montios as descended there don't like weapons. And if the magic attack DM, at least it will refuel her. All these people attacking them are nothing if DM had her magic or unleashed the right to breathe fire on them. But she doesn't want to hurt them. And she doesn't, if she had her magic, she wouldn't hurt them. And she wouldn't even ask the right now to, burn them all down. You get, and they finally see Alex and Remix surrounded by soldiers who don't even pay Remix any attention because he's shouting, they're not moving, which means they're acting on their own. She mounts her DM, Alex mounts her DM to go, but stubborn DM tries again to reach for her brother, who's just so close. She feels like we can just grab him, but they launch a godstone weapon at Sarai that goes through one of her wings, crashing them against his spire. Luther maneuvers to get the bolt out so Sarai can heal. Godstone is not deadly to Gryverns, thankfully, unless it's through the heart. That bolt could have hit Luther too if the aim was a bit higher, because it was on that side. Even O'Reilly is telling DM they should leave. But DM is so insistent on getting to her brother. Luther snaps at her, and then what? Make him a fugitive? Tella is a major casualty in all of this. I mean, you did not ask for this life. He was just a regular boy that they first of all sent to the Descended school. I'm sure they don't even ask him if you want to go to that school. You get, so he's already attended school. He's not like, okay, let me make it my dream to get invited to Sophos. At least I'll have a better life there. DM that they told her, okay, we're inviting your brother to Sophos. She forgot. God of mercy. Now, the boy's father died. The sister is a queen that nobody wants. The mother now turns out to be a rebel that is in prison. Jesus Christ. Tella is just a casualty, and it makes my heart ache for him. That one bystander that has no part in any of this. They're just playing as chessboard game. Haba. And he's such a handsome guy. I kept trying to get an imagery of Taylor. Anyway, let's keep going. DM still doesn't listen to anybody, or not even Sarai, that just seems sad and resigned that she has to go back to that palace with all those people trying to kill her. So, a bit out of reach from the malicious guards, DM pulls down the hood over O'Reilly so that son and mother can see each other. Tella tries to run to them, slamming an elbow against Taran's ribs and twisting Pet's wrists. Oh, by the way, Pet is my favorite minor character, in as much as he's from House Bennett. How his loyalty towards DM, towards Tella, it's so good. Honestly, Tella is a belittled true and true, even if he's O'Reilly's little scholar. I mean, DM is a little warrior, while Tella is a little scholar. That's to O'Reilly, their mother. Tella is now pleading with them not to go. Sadly, it's goodbye, and off they go for Montios. Montios is very cold, and where they settle is out in the open, but it's late and they have to make do. So Rai is so helpful after DM pets her, promising to grow her 1,000 apples when her magic returns. So Rai's wings are healing fast, and she offers beneath her wings as a shelter. Although she's broken off the arrow long ago and managed to use what's left of Luther's magic to stop the bleeding on her shoulder, DM's hand is useless and she's in pain. According to Luther, it will take at least 4 days until her magic is refilled, if it behaves normally. I mean, nobody really understands DM's magic. Luther's one will take like 2 days to refill. The stronger you are, the more time it takes. O'Reilly suggests her and DM can go to a nearby Guardian camp. DM refuses, not just because she'll be abandoning Luther, but Guardians are no friends of hers, a descended queen. Off to the side with Luther, it appears he brought the spelled Montios cloak. That cloak they brought for her, her ascension ball that is spelled to always protect the wearer from the cold. The gold that Luther gave to those escaped prisoners was also part of his plan B. But, now he's no longer with them. DM is moved that he knew he could be a fugitive of his home and still stuck by her. As much as he tells her, you're my home, she thanks him for helping her not bring Tella along. That's when his tension around that eases, because he actually thought she'd be angry. He's been so nervous, tense about it. But because this guy is used to, always being tense, you won't notice he's tense until he releases. You're like, yo, you are tense. You understand? So he now tells her, I'll stand by you through anything, DM, even when I disagree. I hope you know that. Whatever consequences may come, we face them together. At this, DM thinks, I could really give all of myself to this person. They're low-key getting flirty when O'Reilly calls out to DM. His parting words to her as he takes the first watch. Dream of me. Aww. Luther was supposed to take just the first watch, but he actually turns out taking the whole night. It becomes a vigil. So in the daylight, they now find a cave where Luther can actually sleep, since they can't stay out in the open now like he did at night. And this is Montios. I know that with the forging magic breaking down, DM's magic can be anywhere on the realm because she's a crown. But Luther's magic, it flickers because of the breaking down realms. So his magic was not there when they landed in Montios. But with his magic on right now, DM senses his magic is there while he's sleeping. So she leaves so that she can just take some time off on her own. You get? She gives Sorai free reign to enjoy the flight, and the maneuver Sorai performs makes DM healer. Like, we're done. She's now asking Sorai questions. Did you love Lumnos? Do you miss her? The Gryverns followed the Kindred from their home realm out of loyalty, not obligation. Sorai is sad that Lumnos is bodily gone and betrayed that the Kindred prioritized their descended offspring over the Gryverns' freedom. You get? That is for their children. The Kindred bound the Gryverns to their children, instead of letting the Gryverns decide if they want to serve the children or be loyal to them too. And that's not fair. So in as much as the Kindred did much good, they also, did some things that are they're not right. As for the other Kindred, it seems Sorai wasn't fond of one of them. I mean, the others were not her problem, but there is one Sorai didn't like so much. But Sorai seems restrained from communicating about that Kindred to anybody. Like some kind of like a spell restraining Sorai from talking about it, even though she knows of it. Now, off in the distance is a dark forest with blackened trees. It's calling to DM to claim it. But DM puts that instinct on hold to return to Raleigh and Luther. She's already been gone far longer than she said she would be. DM asks Sorai about Rymari. That's the Montios Gryvern that is dead right now. The answering emotions are a heavy sadness mixed with shame. They were likely placed in a position where they fought each other. For saving their lives back in numbers, Ziam wishes there's a way to thank Rymari. That's how Sorai drifts off course and signals Ziam not to issue any orders. Like, she makes this trail now, like, don't say anything. Because if you say anything, I'm bound to obey you and I won't take you where I want to. So DM keeps her mouth shut. Sorai brings Ziam to a mountain patch that has no snow, but there's just this area. There's a perfect circle. And when DM steps into that circle, under it is snowing. There's a perfect circle of snow, but every other place on that mountain range, no snow. So it's like, whoa, what's this magic? Okay, what's this magic? So Sorai pays her obeisance. So DM clues in, oh, this must be Rymari's gravesite. DM uses her little magic that has returned to craft a single rose of pure ice that she offers as a gift to Rymari. There are sudden sounds around them, but before they can see who's behind it, a column of dark shadow magic signals that DM return immediately. The moment DM sees it, she's like, oh my god, my mother and lover are in danger. Thankfully, they are not, but they're very mad. DM focuses on pacifying Luther, which makes O'Reilly furious that Luther is just his subject. DM snaps that he's not, but instead of her to really say what Luther is, she settles on he's my closest advisor, which makes Luther work hard to hide his disappointment. DM hates to see this, and she tries to tell her mother what Luther really is to her, but they're interrupted by a group of hate-filled photo soldiers with Guston weapons. According to them, DM defied Illuminus' crown's orders, which is grounds for an arrest. She's also an uninvited crown in a foreign realm, which is more reason for an arrest. Wanting peace and Luther's safety, DM offers to live with them and Sorai. DM orders Sorai to return to Remus and obey his commands as if it were her own. Sorai resists these orders. But she really can't, because her feet drags as though she's just fighting against a spell, and she sets off flying to do her queen's bidding. Once DM is shackled, they inform her they're not leaving without executing O'Reilly. If Luther gets in their way, his head will be off too. But getting close to the cave, there's what feels like an earthquake. And lavender stone seals off the cave. DM swears she didn't do anything, only for a girl of 7, surrounded by 20 adults to say, it was us. She's now realm, so it's our crown who will decide her fate. The soldiers argue that she killed their king, attacked their army, freed prisoners, is suspected of attack on Korea. Little girl says, when she's charged, not suspected, come and retrieve her if she's still alive. The soldiers shift their attention to O'Reilly, and the monk seem tongue-tied. As far they're like, okay, even if you see all these things, but she has to take the woman. You get. So Luther steps up and now says they brought custom weapons into Montios without Montios' crown's consent. Doing this is subject to instant execution. All the soldiers blanch, like, oh, now they've been found out in their own crime. They're with Godstone weapons without permission from the crown of the land. That means they should all be executed. So they start backing away like, we didn't really mean it. And they still push DM roughly, leave her in chains. The Montios makes the soldiers stumble down a slide of ice. They're likely wounded, likely dead, not a problem for now anymore. The little girl invites DM to have a word with the crown consul who's been awaiting her arrival. That's shocking to DM, like, why are they waiting for my arrival? They now open the cave and O'Reilly looks like she's been trying to claw her way out of that place. You know, the close it for her own safety. But she's been trying to get out, and she's wounded a bit. She rushes to DM's side, ready to defend her daughter, until Luther says, calm down, we're not in danger. Even this is news to DM, like, we're not? Didn't you hear what I said? If I'm still alive? You understand? Now, the Montios leave them. This 20 Montios adults and a 7-year-old girl that is their spokesperson. They lead 3 of them to a cliff, and then they make a solid ice bridge that they have to descend down. Along the way, DM looks down. She's scared by the drop because it's such a height, and she now crashes into the rail of the bridge. And as she crashes there, that place breaks off. She's about to tumble to her death when Luther catches her. He shouts at the Montios to reinforce the bridges and keeps his hand around her middle until DM shuffles away when O'Reilly glares at Luther. It really bothers DM that O'Reilly doesn't like her man. Through Luther, DM learns Montios descended are extremely reclusive. They don't talk to outsiders once their magic comes in. Some even vow not to talk again. DM is like, oh, they won't like me. Because she's like, me? I'm a blabbermouth, okay? DM's companions are to stay in a comfortable receiving room. That is Luther and O'Reilly, where they will be served food, while only Montios descended can go beyond that room. Which has DM thinking, but I'm not a Montios descendant, so why? Anyhow, O'Reilly tries to give DM a guardian mission to take notes, find maps, or weapons, but DM is disgusted because she has learned her lesson with the guardians. Like, she ain't giving them nothing. Okay? The Montios' conceal room is simple and has this temple vibes, a place of reflection. DM likes it. She's shocked when all of a sudden everyone is talking to her. They all bow to her. They're polite. They're kind. It's a first. You get, even in the realm she's queen of, they don't treat her nice. And these people that she does not know from Adam are treating her so well. Okay? The little girl is sent off to call her dad to remove DM's chains. She now asks the person that introduced herself as Consular Hepta, while Montios doesn't speak to outsiders. Hepta now explains, Blessed Mother Montios made those mountains her home because she believed being isolated and spending time in silence enhances the mind and opens us to higher truths. We carry on those same teachings today. Okay? DM is not she doesn't believe in this exactly, but she's like, okay. DM is invited to take a seat around the table with a conceal. Paper and ink is in front of them. Steaming mugs are set before them, although DM declines because she's too nervous to take anything. What do they want with her? So she finds out they do not have any plans to execute her, and she's very much welcome. Consular Hepta is the elder of the Crown Council, and she, like her fellow councillors, were elected by the people. DM is shook. What's that? So Montios governs itself differently from the other realms. Here, it is our council, not our crown, that makes decisions for our realm. The crown is a member of the council, but the rest of us are chosen by the people of Montios. If we cannot come to an agreement, the crown's will is decisive. Otherwise, they only have 1 vote, the same as each of us here. DM likes it. She thanks them for coming to save her. Through this, she learns the army have been getting overboard. Montios was given control of the continent's army. Under the agreement, it would act only with the consent of all crowns. These new rules are a disgrace. That's the rule of 6 crowns having majority votes instead of all 9 that started since the Blood War. This leads to the topic of how fair Montios is. DM learns they exiled the Montios from their realm to protect them from Montios' harsh climate. They were finding people frozen to death or starved. They did try to help before exiling them, but the mortals did not trust the council. DM now says the same council that doesn't have any mortal on it. We expect them to trust you. So a male councillor points out that they don't enforce the exile though, because they know that mortals go through their lands. It's not like Ignews that put barrier that even if mortals enter, they are roosted alive. Montios did not put any borders like that, but just said, please don't be in our realm again because it's not good for you people. But they did not put like stringent rules. They ignore any mortals that are passing through or the guardians that are there in the Forgotten Lands. So this leads to the question of if DM is a guardian. She gives a reply she's been giving to everyone since Cordelia. She believes in what the guardians are fighting for, but she won't go about it by bloodshed. As for the king of Forthos, he attacked her unprovoked, and she acted in self-defense. The councilor thinks at least the new Forthos king might be less aggressive. DM does not correct them. Because how do you tell them, oh, now I'm the Forthos queen? Now, they tend to address the problem in the east, the Forgotten Lands. It's part of Montios, but the descended avoid it. They say the land is cursed. There are rumors of a powerful descendant there helping the guardians. He's been doing a lot, killing torturing, defiling traveling descendant, and carving into their skins 10-pointed stars. They've asked Sophos to research this. Meanwhile, an entire fishing village in Meris was decimated. 300 adult descended killed, and that symbol was carved into every corpse. All the children there disappeared. This looks to DM like Vance's kind of brand of violence. One counselor cries, demanding to know if DM did it. DM swears on her life that she cannot condone this type of thing. Oh. That's when the attack on Umbros 3 days ago is brought to her attention. She chills. She was meant to be in Umbros that day and was with powerful descended. But the downside, Luther could have died. Montios is worried that as Umbros, who turns a blind eye to Guardians, was attacked, perhaps they are next. Because we've been turning a blind eye to them too. So what if they attack us? It's a weight on DM's shoulders. But she's not like, hold on a minute. Why are you guys telling me all of this? Like, let's go back to the full moment of why am I here having to listen to all of this? How does it affect me? They're like, Your Majesty, you are crowned. She's like, say what now? Y'all, okay. What confirmed this to them was the fact DM could breach the circumference of Rymari's gravesite. It's spelled to only allow Montios crowned. She learns here Montios died in the bombings. That bombings that happened on DM's coronation, but they didn't inform other crowns because they wanted to find their new crown first. DM's confirmation that she is the crown of Montios is that she reaches for the forging magic and she releases Luther's magic. Next, she's drawn to the Forgotten Lands by an idea Isel told her of how she uses the forging magic to spy on people. It focuses on something other. The man stiffens while aware someone is watching him. He then turns to her. It's the man from their visions. He has the same dark grey eye color as her. His aura is so powerful, it's pushing her to cower, to kneel. She believes he can't reach her hair where she is. She's just reaching him through the fortune magic. But he grabs her wrist and burns a mark at the base of her throat. He orders her to come find him. Then once if she spies again on him like this, he would kill her. Next, he shoves her backward, and in the costume room, DM falls out of her chair. Hector conjures an ice mirror, and DM sees the 10-pointed star at the base of her throat. It makes the conceal eye her with distrust. Like, babe, are you sure you're not with those people? We're just talking about this mark. Why is it on you? DM wants to leave now, although they're asking she stays so they can discuss first. These Montios people take their time to decide, which is how people should behave. Not DM that is rushing into everything. They show her a letter the late king left her. Part of it reads, 11 must fall for one to rise. Share the gift to pay the cost. A dying star will rekindle the spark. What is forgotten is not lost. Remember my sister's words. Beware my brother's wrath. Good luck, daughter of the forgotten. May you strive to seek virtue in all things. This strive to seek virtue in all things is like the thing Montios people does. Whenever I say patience is a virtue, I'll be like, yes, we strive to seek virtue in all things. They're monk-like people. Yeah. Anyway, the message that the king left for DM is actually quite confusing. So eventually she just yields to what this Montios people are asking her to stay and talk because she has no magic. So all the descended give her their magic, but it doesn't even refill hers to the max. And she has to wait with her companions an extra day. So at least those descended are refilled enough to defend themselves if there is any attack. DM really wants to learn to pace herself so she doesn't burn through all her magic. Luther wants to call for reinforcements from Limnos before they go to this Forgotten Lands. But DM believes everybody's in their roles right now, that Taran, Alex, and Cole, everybody's where they're supposed to be. Also, DM tries calling for Sarai, but Remis has chained her down. Poor Sarai almost chokes herself to death trying to get free, so DM has to call her off. Then she leaves for the Forgotten Lands. They're still on their way when DM feels the man's aura so much more powerful than any descendant she's ever met. Luther thinks her bedfather might still be alive. That's DM's bedfather. O'Reilly believes strongly that he's not, that DM's bedfather is not alive because she stabbed him through the house with Godstone. The reason he tried to stab DM on the day she was born. Already DM has asked the Orb of Answering, that Orb of Answering that the Sophos people gave her as her coronation gifts, during the Ascension Ball. She has asked that Orb of Answering if her father was alive, and it said yes. But with what her mom is saying that her dad is dead, DM is surprised at the pain she feels for mourning a sire she didn't even know. She had hoped that perhaps somewhere out there, her bedfather was looking for her. Reminds me of when she used to imagine as a little girl that she was the princess of a faraway kingdom, a long-lost kingdom. And here she is, queen of how many realms now? 3. That's something they talked about briefly in the book 1. I don't know why I randomly remember it here.
DM is currently feeling low and like a pawn in the Kindred's game. She wants to run away and live a small town life with Luther and their friends. They would have an apple tree for Sarai and goats for Luther to tend to. Both of them are imagining this together and it's so sweet. Too bad they're not completely alone as Orally had to come along. They couldn't leave Orally with the Montios descended because there is no need pushing the boundaries of Montios' kindness with a guardian leader. That leader might be needed to sway people away from following this person. They're going to go and meet this dangerous descendant that is all about violence. Up high, they notice a Gryvern that is just circling. They don't know who it belongs to, and they're being careful. Aurelia and Luther get into an argument over how Luther could have done more good by permanently removing Uther from the picture and taking the crown. Luther is now like DM would have taken the crown, and if she'd done so while you were still poisoning her with flame roots, she might not have survived there before he can finish talking about the challenging uncle. DM yells at them to stop arguing or she'll go alone. So now when they're closing out to the camp to walk, they dismount from the horses. DM begins feeling stronger once her feet touches the soil. But the place is draining Luther. DM has to fight the forging magic to let Luther go. But then he's already taken a good chunk of his magic and he already didn't have a lot. This land holds long grudges. Like this land, it holds very old grudges and festering bleeding wounds. The healer in DM wishes to heal it. This land is meant to be part of Montios, but it's angrily disconnected somehow. Beyond the hill is a small village with stone buildings. Why are there stone buildings here? That's Montios magic that would have built that. There's a single pen for animals, a line of cooking pots, a cramped patch of crops that aren't possible in winter, like potatoes and some other crops like that. Orally speculates, is an Abor's descendant working with them? And it won't be too far-fetched because the Abors have been sympathetic to the cause of the Guardians. DM thinks not. That why would Abors be sympathetic that when I was captured, the Abors was also captured with me. But the way her mother has this knowing look has them like, what's up with that? But the woman refuses to spill, choosing to keep her secret. Instead, what O'Reilly points out is, some of these mortals are familiar. And one common thing about all of them is that they all craved violence. They all thought that my ways were too tame. Next, Van stands to give the men a speech. His usual talk about all descended must die, all guardians must be willing to die for the cause, meh. Next, the glowing man comes up. DM sees an opening to assassinate. She knocks an arrow on a ball of shadow magic. Both the arrow and the ball she's using are both from magic. This man has killed thousands, including children. This is the right thing to do. She's aiming for the spine at his nape. Right as he turns, showing his profile, DM lets go. Aurelia whispers, no. Like, she has this flicker of recognition, but the arrow has stuck through. Except, instead of killing the man, it just disappears. He absorbs it like DM absorbs magic. They need to run. But then DM and Aurelie are frozen on the spot. The man turns to them. He greets Aurelie and then now says, hello, daughter. At last, we finally meet. Uh-oh. His voice, although they're like quite some distance away from him, his voice carries as though he's right beside them. Do you get? Luther has to single-handedly carry the frozen and shocked women to the horses. He tosses Aurelie on one horse, DM on his, takes the reins on both as they flee. They have to leave behind DM's horse. As they take the road they took to get here, is now manned now by guardians, so they have to take another road that is leading towards Suffers. They ride hard until it's very dark and the horses are exhausted before hiding out close to the border. Eventually, when it's clear no one is pursuing, Luther makes camp. He leaves to collect firewood, code name of giving DM and her mother privacy. For the past few hours, DM was beating herself up on how she tries to kill her father. That he's just like her. He has her eyes. He absorbs magic like her. His name is Ophiakai, according to Orally. So Orally has to share her story so that DM can understand the background of where she's going. She was recruited early into the Emarian army to be a spy. That's Orally. She spied on the Guardians through powerful households that had had to care for their children. DM is disgusted her mom broke the healer's vows that DM beat herself up over for breaking, when she started working with the Guardians at first. In Orally's logic, being a healer means saving as many lives as you can. And she did her best. Orally says, I may have made mistakes, DM, but I've always done what I believed was right at the time. In this world, right and wrong are not always so easily distinguished, and this is true. And this here points out that the moral compass differs for so many people. So don't you go judging and wagging fingers. They did not grow like you did. O'Reilly eventually joined the Guardians and started using her position in the army to help them. From spying on them, she joined them. Now, it was reckless and risky. This means DM definitely got that trait from O'Reilly. O'Reilly also got the attention of the photo skink, who sent her to Korea for a year on a mission. He smuggled her in on Fortune Day and took her back the next Fortune Day. The mission was to confirm if there were guardians on the island. He gave her a godstone dagger, believing a crown might be assisting these guardians, to which O'Reilly should execute the culprits, whether the person is a crown or not. Obviously, O'Reilly knew from her guardian connections that no one was on the island. But since this place has never been explored by a mortal person before, it was an opportunity to go. And while she explored the island, she came across a godstone door with overgrown weeds in front of it. She has no idea till today what made her call out, "Is anyone there?" to a door that doesn't look like it's been opened in generations. Someone answered back, and the person sounded scared. Once she said she was immortal, this is what happened. He claimed he'd been imprisoned for helping the rebels and left there to die, but he'd managed to survive on rodents and rainwater. He begged me to help him escape. O'Reilly broke open the hinges because it was made of iron. The man I found barely looked human. He was frail and thin, and his skin was grey, not pale, but grey, like his body had been drained of its color. He claimed it was from going so long without seeing the sun. I should have known then there was more to the story. He was locked with a godstone chain. Nothing I did could break it open, but I had a year ahead of me to keep trying. In the meantime, I brought him fresh food and water and kept him company. Ophiuchi was unlike anyone I'd ever met. The simplest stories would fascinate him, and he spoke of his dreams to change our world for the better. He was charming, and I was lonely. She fell for him, and after resisting for some time because they didn't have a contraceptive tonic here, they started sleeping together and she got pregnant. Ophiuchi was excited. It was all he could think about, but his personality changed. He became obsessed with revenge. He spoke of killing off the descended and installing himself as king, and he became very possessive. When O'Reilly left the cell, he would make her vow on DM's life, like the unborn baby's life, that she would come back. He was paranoid that she might leave, no matter how much she reassured him. Near the end of the pregnancy, he became physically abusive. He threw her against the wall one day when she tried to go outside and said she was not to leave his sight until the baby was born. For weeks, O'Reilly slept out in the cold, listening to him plead for her to come back. He apologized and said his captivity had made him unwell. He swore that he loved her and would never do it again. She was pregnant and alone. She didn't know what to do. The stress of it sent her into an early labor. She was afraid of him, but she was more scared of what might happen if she tried giving birth on her own. When a blood sun rose at dawn, it felt like a sign that if O'Reilly made the wrong choice, she might lose DM forever. She prayed to the old gods to protect both her and her baby, then went back down to his cell and told him DM was coming. So Ophiuchi became just like his old self again. He made no demands. He did everything she asked. When DM finally made her appearance, he was overjoyed and O'Reilly believed he'd really changed. When she healed enough to walk again, he insisted that O'Reilly go outside and get some fresh air. O'Reilly thought Ophiuchi was trying to earn back her trust. She left baby DM asleep and went outside, but as soon as she walked away, a feeling in her gut told her something was wrong. She crept back down to the cell and saw Ophiuchi standing over DM with O'Reilly's godstone knife. Ophiuchi gave her some absurd story about needing DM's blood to unlock his chains. She refused, and they fought, and she managed to steal back the blade. Ophiuchi tried to grab DM, and O'Reilly panicked and stabbed him in the heart. So when the king came, the photos king came back to pick up O'Reilly after that 1 year now, and she's obviously with DM. So O'Reilly now lied, "I didn't know I was pregnant when the mission began." She didn't want to talk about how she got pregnant on this island, had a baby on this island. In fact, the king would have killed DM on the spot. It's clear to DM that she freed Ophiuchi on her coronation. O'Reilly is experiencing post-traumatic stress syndrome right now, PTSD. Are you telling me that all those months I thought I was alone by the flames, Ophiuchi was there the whole time? DM, on her own part, quietly sympathizes with her sire. She might be just as he is if she went through what he did. No one knows the story, not even Andrea. Honestly, O'Reilly is very good at keeping secrets. She'd never talked about this with anyone. With her and Andrea, that is DM's commander that dies late right now, they focused on the future and had unconditional trust. So DM now asks, "So why didn't you tell me and tell her sooner?" O'Reilly claims that DM didn't want to know, as there were many times that O'Reilly slept and DM looked the other way. But as the little girl who looked up to her mother, DM trusted her. And well, that's looking like it's a mistake. And DM storms off. Like, what's that kind of explanation? What kind of blackmailing are you trying to blackmail me with that statement? So DM runs into Luther, who doesn't mind that she can't tell him what her mother shared about her sire. She wants Luther to distract her, and it turns into a hanky-panky section. He refuses to go all the way, though, because they're in the forest. So this DM replies, I grew up in the forest, Luther. All my first times were against the tree. That's the wrongest thing to say, because he snaps he's not the others. When they finally meet, that's what he tells her, that he's going to be her last first time she's ever going to have. They're close to the finish line of, the hanky-panky, when O'Reilly busts out, get away from my daughter. She wants to stab Luther, and DM jumps in the way. Luther throws out his shield in time to prevent DM getting stabbed, and she has to scream, I love him. Henry's not even DM's friend any longer. When O'Reilly's like, what about Henry? She's like, we're not even friends anymore. He was in love with mortal DM, and O'Reilly was cruel to let them get close. You get. No matter how DM explains Luther's selfless, caring heart to O'Reilly, O'Reilly's convinced Luther wants DM for the throne. DM stoically stands by Luther's side. This is the man she's chosen to be with for the rest of her life. And if O'Reilly doesn't like it, maybe she won't be in DM's future. O'Reilly's insistent. Family comes first. And to this, DM explodes that O'Reilly failed. Her secrets are why Andrea is dead, and DM isn't competent in magic as she should be. Her mother prioritized the Guardians, abandoning her family when they needed her the most. But Luther held them up. O'Reilly is in tears. She has no choice but to accept Luther. By accepting him, it means they talk all through the night, three of them, about many different things. O'Reilly about Ophiakai, her time as a spy with the army and the Guardians. DM shares the things that went down once she got the crown. And Luther surprisingly shares how he lost his bad mother and got his scar. O'Reilly interrogates him to clear the air about the evil she believed him responsible for, only to find out that he was shielding the Guardians from Uther. With their love story out, when it's time for them to sleep, Luther boldly cuddles up with DM. Also, I love how when DM started being sentimental that Ophiakai won't hurt her, both Luther and O'Reilly glance at each other, and then they look at DM. They know her. They're gentle that he's dangerous. He tried to kill you as a baby. He's killing people. This man has threatened DM before now that if she spies on him again, he'll kill her. You understand? That is not very fatherly. But she's having hope that he's not that bad. Regardless, she assures them she'll do what needs to be done. Now, though, they're heading to Suffolk, where O'Reilly would go meet up with the Guardians in Montios or wherever. DM would need to convince the Suffolk's crown to gather the other crowns so that they can coronate DM, while O'Reilly would need to ask the Guardians to retreat from the temple long enough for the coronation to happen. O'Reilly's solution for all this political maneuvering thrills DM's godhood, because O'Reilly's like, you can just kill the other 5 crowns. They understand and take all the crowns and the crown. So you won't be doing all this political thing. You'll be the one that have the final say in all these things. But DM is like, Mom, there are 6 crowns, not 5 remaining. Oopsie. O'Reilly now shares that the Aber's Queen is actually a huge guardian helper. She's half mortal and promised her mortal father on his deathbed to do everything to help his kind. So yes, maybe that time that she thought the Aber's Queen was captured alongside her, it was actually just to make it look like, DM was not alone in being captured, to throw off suspicion. Before they part ways, O'Reilly calls Luther away and they're standing some distance from DM. O'Reilly asks him questions and he answers for a very long time, while O'Reilly watches his body language for details, the spy in her. Then when he stops, there's a minute of silence before she suddenly hugs him and he awkwardly pats her back. Now O'Reilly gives her blessings, which thrills DM. She also admits Luther needs a mother figure in O'Reilly, as he wasn't loved at home. It clicks that's why Luther always insisted the half-mortals be placed with loving families. That's O'Reilly says so. No wonder he always insisted we place the half-mortals with loving family. Now, O'Reilly leaves. It's time to enter Suffolk. That's for DM. Now, DM is nervous, although her godhood is eager. This godhood that is always leading her to chaos. This is the first time DM will be entering a realm without flame roots or being half dead, and with Luther by her side, they make their way in. Suffolk's magic is two-sided. Is a realm of spark and thought. Spark is electricity, while thought is ability to memorize everything they'd ever seen, heard, or read, turning their head into a trove from which they could recall even the tiniest detail with ease. DM is overwhelmed by the spark powers on day 1. She screams while Paul Luther stays on the Montios side of the border to retain his powers for protection in case it's needed. Day 2 is mostly DM's worst memories, replaying in vivid details. Thankfully, it's only the memories she remembers that can be recalled. She does manage to crawl over the border to Luther and she collapses in his arms. It's by D3 that they're able to enter Sophos City. It's futuristic with tall metal and glass buildings, what I imagine to be cars, which makes them stand out. Like DM and Luther stand out because they have a horse, and there are no horses here. Their attire too makes them stand out, as well as the fact that they're the only two not in a hurry to get somewhere. Everybody's in a hurry. It's like a busy, upscale city. They see what used to be a temple of the old gods demolished. DM feels strongly about it, blaming the descended for hoarding, in quotes, their knowledge. That's the knowledge of the mortals, destroying it too. Then realizes Luther's discomfort. He acknowledges that DM is actually more mortal than he is and suggests she could build a house on her family's land. She's crowned. She doesn't have to live in the palace. She can use the palace for meetings and balls. He adds they could have their orchards and goats right there. He suggests naming one of those goats Tyron. DM replies that if we want to avoid violence, we have to get a donkey and name him Aemon to pacify Tyron. This makes Luther laugh loudly, and DM carefully commits it to memory. Now she has Sophos magic, so she can replay it whenever she wants, because it's rare Luther laughs like that. So DM pulls down her hood and brazenly crosses over a keep up sign into the demolished temple. She ignores the guards shouting at her and uses a shield around Luther. They spot an old plaster, that is an old painting sort of, that's down on the floor, is of a red-haired man crouched against a tree. They can't make out his facial features. Luther jokes that this man must be related to Orally because they have the same vibrant shade of red hair. They don't get more chance to explore as the Sophos crown arrives. The Sophos crown is neither male nor female. It's something new. The description of the Sophos crown is beautiful. I tried to come up with an AI imagery of it. Like I said, I'm taking a generative AI course, so perhaps I'll learn how to do this by the time the course is up and all. Now, they bring DM to a library built by mortals of old. They claim that they is Doriel, the name of the Sophos crown, Doriel, and their pronouns is them. Honestly, I don't know how white people do this, okay? They claim they are fair to mortals and allowed to visit mortals with, in quotes, a documented history of study and interest, trustworthy references, no criminal activity. DM clarifies that in her realm, study and interest is even a crime. Dorel says it's a problem for the Crown of Lumnos to address. So this is a full circle moment, because DM is like, exactly why I'm here to ask you to complete my coronation so I can address these issues. DM has to share the abridged version of her adventure through the realms after being kidnapped and held captive by the Guardians. So the moment she discovered her sire is Ophiuchi. She left out that she has 2 new crowns. When she asked what they know of why Ophiuchi was held on the island, Doriel sifts through thousands of memories. Their eyes glaze over and then they come up with nothing. These pronouns are hard. DM's Umbers' magic picks up that he's lying, but she doesn't want to take the information from his head by force because she's trying to build trust. Even when she asks, what about this 10-pointed star? Montios said that you're researching it, so what have you come up with? They're like, they don't know. Meanwhile, DM's own 10-pointed star that, Ophiuchi gave her while she was in Montios, she has been covering it up with a scarf, so they can't see that it's right there at the base of her throat. So DM informs Doriel she's the only one who can actually stop her sire. She shows them her ability to absorb magic by having them attack her with their spark powers. She says she has no feelings toward her sire, which is a lie because she does have some feelings towards him, and that she's offering a bonded bargain to prove her word of killing him. This is risky. In exchange, she asks that let her be coronated, knowing she has 3 crowns and possibly a Boris on her side. That's 4 votes. So DM knows she just needs 2 more votes so that her coronation can happen. That's Sophos' votes, and Sophos can convince maybe Maris. So that way, there's 6 votes, the majority. When DM also asks for Orally's pardon, Sophos is not having it. DM argues her mother didn't sanction the ongoing attacks. She was imprisoned. Okay? Besides, mortals die every day and Sophos does nothing about it. Maybe the ones on their realm are treated well, but it has an expiration date, doesn't it? They make mortals into experiments. Doriel looks pained, because there is truth that they make mortals into experiments. But DM doesn't listen to what they have to say in their defense. These are DM stamps, and if Doriel won't have it, they can forget about it. Then Ophiuchi will make a massacre of Sophos without DM's help. Doriel needs 2 days to think the offer through. In the meantime, DM, who according to Doriel is not a crown yet, if only he knew, can have crown level access to the archives as per I'm doing you a favor. Now, this is DM's dream, like just being in the library, learning about history gone past. When they step out of the room, a wave of power hits DM. She and Doriel assume it to be Luther, but she quickly learns when her and Luther have a private time to whisper that it's not him because his magic is not currently working. So it makes him wonder, is Ophiakai close? Doriel takes them to the library where they assign, Doriel is the day right now, assigns a teenage mortal boy from Mary Stuart to show them around. Stuart is enamored with DM. His mom is a researcher and she got permit to be here for 10 years with her husband and son. It will soon be their 9th year here, but Stuart is hoping they will be granted permission to live here permanently. DM is alarmed, but they don't quite get into it because she sees pets and behind him is a familiar auburn hair. Teller. So apparently Teller accepted an invitation to study in Cephos. Remis told him about it and pleaded with the crown of Cephos to let Teller study here because apparently Remis and Doriel have a good relationship. Teller arrived recently. Both siblings are so shocked to see each other. Teller subtly inquires where she is. That's where their mother is right now, but he just asks where she is. DM replies with friends. Teller is looking betrayed, and DM thinks it's because she didn't reunite their family like she promised. When she tells him she's here to convince the crowns to coronate her and pardon their mother, he's like, well, good luck, I guess. Maybe someday I'll find out from someone else how it went. She deserves it big time, and she knows. But that doesn't stop her from demanding a private place where she can speak to her brother, and she drags him in there. Luther stands guard at the door. DM forgot to inform Teller of what he's looked forward to the most in his life, an invitation to Suffolk. That's not the attitude of someone who says you matter to them. Also, Lumnos was a prison for Teller. He explains everyone there knows my mother is a rebel leader and my sister is a traitor queen who broke her out. I can't go to school anymore. I can't even leave the palace. When Teller looms over DM with hands crossed, she realizes, whoa, my brother is taller than me. And that's rare because mortal men are hardly taller than her. And also, Teller is filling out into a man. Teller clears the air about what DM believes supposed to be this vile place. He explains that mortals here get paid so much and send money back to their families. And Tees realized this and started targeting anyone with relatives in Suffolk. So people here began to fake their deaths. Their loved ones know they're safe, but everyone else from their home realm thinks they're dead. About the mortals dying from experiments, they volunteer and they're paid a huge fortune to leave behind for their families. They might consider this a vile practice, but hey, the world is unfair. And the experiments do produce results that save thousands of lives. And the money makes a huge difference in the lives of the generations of the one that volunteered. So the way Teller presents it reminds them of their father. Because he's logical and he's just saying, look at this D. And it just makes the fight leave DM. Teller's good heart doesn't allow him to keep a grudge with her. He confirms if she really killed Photos and his general and now wants a coronation and pardon for their mother. She's like, yes to all of the above. They're not able to get into the details though because DM's neck starts glowing so bright. That's that 10-pointed star. Ophiakai is coming. DM is in a panic. She's in terror when she asks Pet to take Teller and go and hide because her bed father is coming. DM takes her horse from the inn to the ring road where armed men covered in shimmering veils are riding towards the city. That's guardians. Guardians who are with Ophiakai. So DM uses Montios magic to build thick high walls that will slow them down. When Handurel are still trying to figure out their angle on how they'll go out to this battle, a Gryvern appears, a horned reptilian head, sprawling red-tipped wings, a hulking leonian body with fur so dark it was nearly black. This Gryvern approaches with Ophiakai on its back, and hovering above Ophiakai's head, the 10-pointed star crown. That's the lustrum. That's what Sophos breeds. Doriel hesitates to release Luther's magic, believing he and DM mean harm to their city. So DM has to forcefully use Umbra's magic to make them. She suggests that Doriel takes their Gryvern and lures Ophiakai away from the city, so the shield around the men can fall. Doriel believes this to be more ploy on DM's part to leave their city defenseless. DM reminds them that her Gryvern is chained down because they refuse to coronate her. See, if I had my Gryvern, I would have done what I'm asking you, but I don't have my Gryvern because of you, so go do it. Doriel now admits that they are not afraid for themselves, but for this city, filled with academics whose worst crime have been to steal books. Most of them don't even have weapons. When the rebel attack started, they ordered some from Limnos, but it was intercepted by the Guardians. There are also no nearby soldiers. The ones that they had went to Umbers to reinforce the place. So right now, they are on their own. Doriel takes off on his Gryvern Vexes that's accustomed to leisure. Hello, neighbor. Guess when I'm finally recording this final installment of Heat of the Everflame 6 on a Monday morning. after I said I would have started recording at least 1 hour and 49 minutes ago. That's by 10. I'm doing this at almost noon. Oh God, it's crazy. I pushed my body to the max, trying to do many things, and I'm still recovering. That's all I have to say. The things I plan to do this morning, it's all in shambles, and I thank God I'm alive, and I refuse to live in condemnation. Yesterday, I lost my change for transportation. I was holding it in one hand, and I was meant to use it, to go from a distance to get home, and then I don't know how I lost it. I remember feeling so bad because this is like the third time it's happened in this past month, and I'm like, why am I being so careless? I was, even as much as I remembered, yes, God doesn't condemn me or love me less for doing this, but it was just so heavy. And as though God was just trying to teach me better, this morning, I was able to log in for prayers, and they're just talking about Thanksgiving. It's actually thanking God that regardless of the situation, things aren't going bad. And thankfully, I have enough teaching on God's word that, when that happened to me, I didn't say, God, you caused this. Instead, I was like, yes, I scolded myself, but then I'm like, God, I know you still love me. God, I know you're doing this. God, I know you're helping me. I mean, very much richer people are way more wasteful. They still keep getting richer. So it's not like, I lost 200, so I'm going to be poor. No. But it's just like as a human, you wish you were doing better. So, yeah. And this is Monday, like I said, and I've added to my normal yapping. This yapping in the middle of where it's very hot in the story. And you're still here with me. And this episode is not like any I've ever done. And another thing is, I've also recorded this part I'm about to tell before. But for some reason, because of my phone space and all the other things going on in my life, it disappeared. That recording disappeared. So I'm doing it again. Okay? So yeah, it's crazy. But I'm just happy that you're listening and I get to still deliver. So let's go. Now, when I said Vexus is used to leisure, okay? That Gryvern is not like the others, not like Sarai that, when you see them, they're fearsome, their bodies tailor-made, feet for flying and fighting. No, Vexus is chubby and slow when flying. So when the men break through the rock that DM had set up, they charge into the city on their horses. So now DM uses Funnel's magic to make those horses drop them backwards. It works, but it's temporary. They need weapons to at least break through those shields that Ophiakai has put around those men. And the only weapons of Godstone available are historical relics. So Stuart with 2 soldiers go to get it, while the rest of the soldiers have to get everyone inside and barricade the door, with only a small amount of the soldiers left to march into battle. DM leads them, feeling for the first time in a while very close to her commander father, that's Andrea Bilater. She tells them what her father used to normally say. The most important thing right now, she tells them, you have to do in this battle is survive. Again, even with how powerful her magic is, she cannot get through any shield, which is new for her. She's used to just breaking shields left and right. But hey, the person who is behind the shield is just like her, a much more powerful version of her, much more trained version of her. Do you understand? But at least the force of trying to get through the shield pushes those men back. And also because they're in the realm of Sophos, not in any other realm, people here, when they see danger, their first reaction is not to run away, is to check. They are curious people. And Vance uses the opening to say, kill them! Now, towards her attackers, DM uses arborous vines to pull them to the ground and form tangled webs around them. She keeps raising obstacles, but is only doing so much. Up above, Vex's fear is something DM can feel. It's a tangible fear. It's an old fear, not just from this battle, but from a battle that Vexus has been part of before. So DM uses Faunus magic to push courage into the creature and ducks when Luther wants her in time for a Godstone blade to slice the empty air where her head was just seconds ago. They would attack her more, these people, even though they say that the 10-pointed star is at the base of her throat. They're like, why is she not fighting on their side now? So she observes that all the mortals, the guardians, they have it on various parts of their body, back of their neck, their thigh, something. Does this mean that her sire protected her? DM notices the Sophos guard close to death. She heals that guard. He insists on still fighting, and she really can't turn him down because they do need all the help. In the fight, many guards are infected with Godstone poison already, while some others are too far gone. Next thing though, Doriel, that's the crown of Sophos, is knocked off Vexus's back. They are falling to their death when Ophiakai's Gryvern catches them. When I say them, Doriel is a them, in their talon and pierces through their gut. At this time, Stuart returns with the weapons, which aren't enough to arm half the group. Luther refuses to take one of the weapons as his eyes are set on retrieving the sword of Cobwa from Vance. DM fully approves. Also, DM be backing others left and right because before Doriel took off on Vexus, they gave authority to DM. They said, everybody listen to DM. So she is using that. And then DM asked what to find her one brave one who's ascended and one brave mirror is ascended. Now, at the sudden incoming of dragonfyre from Seferis, that is Ophiakai's Gryvern, DM covers everybody in Montios' eye shield, both friends and foe. DM takes the sword birch for her. She calmly receives the dragonfyre as it breathes over her. And then the dragonfyre doesn't hurt her, like burn her or anything. It's almost like when Sarai pours dragonfyre on her. And then the Gryvern gets ready to pick up DM, but she pushes the sword into its soft underbelly and cuts it through to the ribs. Because of that, the Gryvern drops Doriel and flies off. So DM heals Doriel and then tells them what she has planned by asking Stuart to get those ascended. The Faunus ascended can speak to Gryverns. They can't make the beast disobey him, but if they're smart, they can find ways to interfere. And the mirrors ascended can use the wind to slow him down and speed you up. Find Stuart now. Now, around DM, the other descended are using her creative methods of obstacles, working together. And a thought comes to her, means they can also work together against me. She has no idea where that thought comes from. Luther is out of her sight, making her worry as she's raging down the building and she's just like still calling out for him, but trying to put out the fire that the Gryvern put to many places. She starts feeling numbness again. That numbness she felt in photos, as though I can just kill and I don't have to feel anything. So it's coming over her. Eventually she's close enough to the place the fire is concentrated at, the remains of the mortal building. And then she now causes clouds to gather above there and to release rain. And she now uses winds to carry those rains to the parts that have the most fire to put them out. But as she's just rounding off there, the earth quakes around her. And then suddenly she's in the grip of Seferis. Oof! The man of the hour, Ophiakai, glides down from the back of his Gryvern, watches with amusement as DM struggles in Seferis' claws, for being the woman who gave him freedom. He tells her that she alone will be spared from what is to come. He now commands Seferis, his Gryvern, to let her go. Once free, DM masks her fear by glaring strongly at him, and he seems to like it. Taking hold of the sword, DM informs him she wouldn't let him hurt the people here. He makes all 3 crowns inside her, because she hid them inside her crowns now, when she pulls them down to her chest. But he makes them appear above her head. And for some reason, these crowns, each time she gets a new crown, apart from the headache or so, when the crowns are hovering above her head, she feels more weight above her head. So it's actually weight on her head. Literal, the person who bears the crown, it's heavy on them. Staring at those crowns, Ophiakai looks like he wants to steal them. He says he wants them to rule together. And she's like, so why are you killing everybody? Why can't you just rule? If you finish killing everybody, who are you going to rule? He tells her, the killings are for debts that must be paid. DM tries to appeal to his sense of humanity. Those people aren't the ones who hurt you. Don't blame them. What you went through was wrong. Ophiakai is not having it. He is furious and he makes the world around her reverberate. Doriel and descended with them happen to come in around then. They knock him sideways. That is Ophiakai and his Gryvern. They wound them. And then they flee immediately. Very clever. Ophiakai heals his Gryvern and takes off after Doriel and the descended with him. DM jumps back into the fight. With the Godstone weapons, they can break the shields around the mortals. DM, as usual, is fighting not to kill, but with the intensity of the battle, it's getting hard to just not kill. And, killing is easier than just defending yourself. Someone nearly jabs her, and her Sophos brain remembers him as one of her patients. When she explains, I'm on your side, he points out your sword is coated with mortal blood, not descended. This has DM questioning, what am I becoming? At that moment, Ophiakai gets far enough that the shield around these mortals, these guardian mortals, dissolves. DM now commands the mortals with Umbra's magic to run away now, all of you. Leave this realm and harm no one else. They drop their weapons and they're doing as she says. But the descended, that's the ones in Sophos, that their city was attacked, and these men are no longer with any protection around them. They run after these guardians. DM has to put shields around these mortals, these guardian mortals, and command the descended to stand out. And they're looking at her like she's a traitor. Why are you letting them get away? They attacked our city. Trying to be a balance is hard. Sincerely. Now, with the mortals gone, they are securing the city and the wounded. Doriel is still not around, and Luther is now in sight. It has the fearful of what might have befallen her bow. She starts frantically looking for him, shoots up shadow magic signal like he did to her back at Montios. She's so mad when she finally sees him. He points out, look at that sword you're holding. And she's been so distracted to actually notice the sword, the Godstone sword that they put in her hands. So now she looks at it, the one that came from the archives that she's been using in this battle. And the guard said it belonged to the Kindred. It is a sword from their visions, the one she holds where they're in this battle and people are dead and blood, Also, Luther has retrieved his sword of copper. So they both have their rightful weapons right now. Behind him, on a leash of shadow magic, with also shadow magic obscuring his lower face and mouth, is Vance. Vance was caught breaking into a descended school where children whose powers have not yet manifested are, the ones that are easy to kill even without Godstone. So Vance finds out from DM that Ophiuchi is her bedfather, which makes him like, ooh, yay. So he's the one that Raleigh, slapped butts with. Okay? That means I'm going to use this information to sway more guardians to our violent side. So DM now grips Vance's jaw, pushing some healing magic into him. He's in pretty bad shape. And others run away, Vance. Leave this room and don't ever come back. And stop helping Ophiuchi. She uses Umbra's magic to command us. But she knows that it's impermanent. It will last at most 2-3 days before you get back to his senses and go back to Ophiuchi. But it's all she's got for now. She doesn't want to make Vance a martyr by killing him right now, because the battle is technically over, and she can't say she'll be slaughtering him in self-defense. So as Vance takes off, disappointed grumbling from the people around her, like, why is she letting that one go to? She's a sympathizer to their cause. She'll let them attack us next time, that kind of thing. So once Vance is barely a speck in the distance, Doriel, Vexes, and Mary's Ascended return. The foremost one died. Ophiuchi returns and DM confronts him. When she says she's sending Montios back to Montios, he thunders, that isn't Montios. She feels his power when he's deciding what to do with her. And it dawns on her that a part of herself that's totally unfeeling comes from him. She surrenders to the feeling, unafraid, when Ophiuchi wants to attack. But Luther's protective barrier around her snaps her out of it, like she's not afraid of dying. But then when Luther's barrier wraps around her as Ophiuchi wants to attack her, she's like, what was I doing? And then Ophiuchi goes, ooh, my daughter has a suitor. And that has them begging for Luther, like, no. Ophiuchi wants that he can be generous and forgiving, but he doesn't abide disobedience. If she crosses him again, he'll take away his protection. He makes his mark at her throat burn so much that she feels her flesh actually burn. She smells. And then he turns away. DM is grateful now. With Ophiuchi gone for now, Doriel is grateful to DM. They've sent for reinforcements. DM offers to stay until they arrive. Now she shares that, I saw the immortals fight on the side of the Descended. They do love surfers. DM apologizes for believing the worst of surfers, and Doriel apologizes for the accusation that DM meant to say to him. Since DM forgot to hide her crowns after Ophiuchi pulled them out, Doriel now sees it and asks, if I send hawks to Montios and Fortress, those messages won't reach their kings, will they? But their crown will be at the ritual, won't she? Smart as a cookie. Doriel wonders, did DM steal the crowns? But Luther Codson, Blessed Mother Lumnos, told me to serve DM as my queen. And I was there when Blessed Forthos spoke through the king. He acknowledged he was selecting a queen for the first time. Blessed Montios too. She left a message for DM through the late king. Those crowns belong to DM. The Kindred chose her. My guy. Doriel is wondering, why are they concentrating power on one person when we know that they didn't want one person to control absolute power? And it now leads to the talk of the Lost Realm. Apparently, there's a 10th Kindred, not just a 9, that they know. The youngest, a brother. He had a crown and a realm of his own in between Sophos and Montios. That's the forgotten lands now, but he died a few years after the original fortune spell. The remaining 9 Kindred recast the spell and allocated that land to Montios. So they tore down his portal at the Kindred's temple, had all maps of the continent redrawn, anything that referenced him was burned or rewritten. They even tried to kill Seafarer's Gryvern. So that Gryvern, DM felt the malicious energy of that Gryvern, even when she tried to use Faunus magic to connect with it. When these people try to kill you, you will not vex. When you've been living in hiding for centuries, knows how long, you will not vex. So this other 9 Kindred, because this 10th Kindred was the only one that didn't meet somebody, so they didn't think that he had an heir, this youngest brother. But then there is now Ophiuchi and DM. The name of the 10th Kindred was Omnos. Omnos means everything. You know, when you see all these tales of Tortoise, and Tortoise would go to a party and say that I'll tell them that my name is everybody or all of us, that kind of thing. So Omnos is the meaning of Omnos is all of us. And when DM hears that name, she feels it in her bones, like it's claiming her, like it's pulling her to reverence. Now, as to how Omnos died, there are theories. There are references to the Kindred making a great personal sacrifice to protect the mortals after the forging. The details were lost to history, but over the years, some Sophos Crown speculates that sacrifice was Omnos. He was the only Kindred who didn't take a mate, So he never gave up his immortality in the flesh like the others. He would have lived forever. And with the Kindred going, if he's here, he can do anything he wants with the world they've created. And if he was immune to magic and could also steal their magic, that could scare the Kindred, okay? Now, as to how Ophiakai came to be imprisoned on the island, Doriel wasn't a crown at the time. So they explain only one clear, a map of the island marking the hidden door with a note that it should never be opened for any reason. It's dated just after the Blood War. That means he must have been imprisoned around then. That's centuries. Only the Montios king and Umber's queen were crowns that were then and now. Montios king was likely a king in his prime. Umber's was just a new queen, you get, and they never talked about it. And the crowns had imprisoned Ophiakai in hopes that the Omnos' line would die with him. Oh God, that is cruel. DM is lost in thought until Stuart informs her that, hey, all those people with Gustin wings, we've gathered them together in a place like you asked. So she prepares that same herbs that she used to treat Tara and that first time that worked. The subsequent times are not working. The supposed healers are lingering. So when they're like, this thing you're doing, we've done it before now. She's like, yes, but I've seen it work once. And they're like, once is not statistically significant now. At least twice would be something. DM feels defensive. But when they abandon her, like, there's nothing to see here. So DM now draws on her surface magic to recall every minor detail of the only time this formulation has worked. She accidentally sliced herself when her blood drops joined the formulation. So with only Luther watching, she cuts herself. She adds drops of her blood to the formulation and then heals herself quickly. She now insists that the healers apply to the wounded, and she watches them do so before she and Luther leaves. Instead of preparing for dinner with Doriel, DM is with Luther. They head out into the city towards Stella's accommodations. The building, first of all, that's Stella's accommodations. It defies gravity. And then there's a common room where descended immortals interact freely. To encourage curiosity among the people, every night there's music, there's theater, there's food for neighbors to mingle and learn something new. As progressive as Sophos is, though, there's still the matter that is inaccessible to most mortals. There is much pressure to perform on the part of these mortals, that some of them turn to sex and the mind-enhancing drugs sold in the dark underbelly. With that, they often get addicted and ruined in the process. In Teller's quarters, DM is telling him he's not as happy as he claims he is without Lily, that he is running away because he's scared the results won't be good. Luther interferes by hauling DM to himself and making out with her in Teller's presence. It's his way of passing across the message, fight for your love. He is forgetting that where Lily can live for centuries, Teller only has decades. So Teller excuses the couple after begging them, don't defile my room too much. That is valid, my guy. With just the two of them, DM calls out Luther's untoward behavior, like, don't do that. Teller is hurting. And, why are you behaving like that? So Luther now says, I think he needs to see exactly what it looks like when a man loves a woman unconditionally and won't be turned away from her by any force, in life or in death. That sounds really similar to mating vows. DM tells herself she's supposed to still be angry and she tries to pull away from him. But he places her hands on his cheeks and asks her to show him why she is so upset. So using Umber's magic, she does. He feels her thorough when she was looking for him and all the other vulnerable moments she experienced on the battlefield. Next thing, he asks her, oh yeah, see my perspective. So from his eyes, when she was fighting in the battle, she was magnificent, wielding all the Kindred's magic as though she's been using them all her life and not for a few weeks. But surely signs of lack of training is showing in how she's not pacing her magic and in her lack of refinement. And when it came to fighting with Sid, she is good. Her footwork impeccable, her strikes precise. It's true DM accepts every new burden with an eye roll and a joke, but he sees in her eyes how it weighs on her. He constantly thinks of her as my DM, my queen. Luther witnessed when DM covered everyone in Montios' eyes and how the dragonfyre didn't affect her. But before he saw that the dragonfyre didn't affect her, he hurt himself and used huge bursts of magic in trying to break the shield she set over them to protect them to get to her. So after the shield lifted, he saw her standing victoriously and gleaming, the way her sire gleams as of Ophiakai. She was covered in blood, looking like a goddess. The blood belongs to Sephiris, the Gryvern. After that time, she cuts the soft underbelly. He sees Vance heading into his school and takes off after him. Even when Luther feels a malevolent energy, signifying Ophiakai has landed, he knew he couldn't be much useful, and Dan would rather have him protecting the children. It was Vance who gave Luther the hip wound back at Arborus that would have killed him, because at that time Luther was holding on to a half-conscious tyrant and fighting off like 10 guardians. So Vance used that opportunity, coward that he is. Can never meet you one-on-one. Vance is even shocked, like, even after the hip wound I gave you, that kind of thing. So Vance is holding Luther's sword to the mortal teacher's neck, claiming that she might be mortal, but she's helping the descended. As if Vance's 10-pointed star doesn't indicate a descended is helping him. So he's talking big about it. He's a villain now. That's monologue that villains used to like in stories. But then the shield around him drops. Vance is a teacher who gave Vance many of the injuries that DM actually thought Luther gave him. Like I said, Vance was in bad shape. But it's actually this mortal teacher. Dragged his ear outside, carried the sword, beat him. He beat the guy, kick him, all of them. Luther did punch Vance in the face for talking smack of DM. Then now wrapped him in shadow magic to take to DM, knowing fully well that DM would let him go. The teacher gave the sword of cobweb back to Luther. Now that sword was given to Luther by Uther, his uncle, who declared him the next head of House Cobweb, completely snuffing out any affection Remis might have towards his son. Luther saw when DM sent up the column of shadow magic and went towards her. His worst fear is what this war would do to DM's capacity of hope. DM trembles after seeing Luther's side of the story, because how does this man know me so well and still loves me? She has to now admit that, okay, the real reason I am angry is fear. I'm afraid of losing you again. He makes her hold the pendant around her neck, the one he gave her, House of Cobweb one that's like a phoenix, and now tells her that, like a phoenix, I'll keep coming back. Okay? He takes her to stand in front of a mirror. She's untidy for the most part. Her hair everywhere. She's leaner because of the days on the road, and she looks much older. She also looks strong. She's been through a lot. She's fallen hopeless in love. And better yet, she has come to this place of accepting that I don't want this crown, but the past bearers haven't done much good with it. Okay? So I might as well be the one to use it and bring some good. Now this part, I highlighted this part. Okay? Like, be the one that becomes a billionaire. Be the one that becomes the number one in that place. Don't shy away from being number one. Heck, go for number one. Someone is going to be number one anyway, so why shouldn't it be you? Okay? Be number one. Use that position to do more good. Some people who've been number ones, who are the wealthiest, they've not done much with it. Many have, but you go do some good with it, okay? Now she finally sees, through Luther's lens, the woman he loves, okay? She's the one. Next up is the bathroom scene. The bathroom is a Sophos invention of showers. Like, it gives a sensation of being under the ocean, and rainbow lights are behind the lights of those showers. Luther has enjoyed it once when he accompanied his uncle Uther here years ago. It's sad that the Sophos realm does not share their inventions with other realms, although they can give some of it as coronation gifts. After washing up, they dress up and they head out in the night. The city is alive. Luther has a bounce in his steps, although his expressions are shuttered because they're outside. But when it's just him and DM, his excitement is showing. Now, he's very fiery DM, but outside, hard guy, friends, okay? They run into Stuart, who gives away Luther's surprise at the library that he's taking DM towards. Luther has to bodily carry DM the rest of the way to the library. He makes a blindfold out of magic and leads the way. He flirts very explicitly, making her wonder, are we not being exhibitionists? People are always in this library now. But it turns out they're alone because she sees that when he takes the blindfold away. Now, the roof was damaged in the attack. That's why nobody's in the library right now. Doreel sent Luther and DM in to make sure the library is safe. But it also means it's an opportunity to have the library all to themselves. When DM complains she wants to get lost in this book, but there's no time, he reminds her that you have Sophos magic. You can simply look at each page and photocopy them to your brain, and you read them later. That's true! They reach a portal that's to take them to a room, and this portal is a tree of solid bronze with glittering red and yellow gemstones in its leaves. This is the Everflame tree, and mortals of old that built it claim that it's lit with the embers from the undying fire of the old religion. When DM touches the tree, it sparks to life. The bronze even turns red. She hears her godhood say, "Restore the balance, daughter of the forgotten." She moves back like, yo, what's that? But when Luther touches the tree, no effect. So he opens the door beyond it, and it leads to a cozy room. There's bookshelves, there's blankets, there's a head, fire that's to provide warmth, food, wine, and specialty that the researchers take to keep them awake. Luther arranged all of this. Carefully stacked are what's left of books on mortal religion so that DM can look through those first. DM's heart is bursting so much with love. She knows she wants it all with him. A home, a marriage, a mate. She wants to wear his mark on her skin and his ring on her finger. She wants her crown on his head.
What follows next is Luther, the scholar of her pleasure. They get up to adult stuff. When that is over, his magic corrals her, which makes her release all her magic, which is the whole magic of the kindreds. It heals them too of the bruises that they have sustained both before now and in the act of doing adult stuff. So she absorbs his magic, making her glow. Her skin, it's glowing. When that's over, it's Luther who takes care of her while she thumbs through many of the books. They're like that for nearly 48 hours. I mean, they do some adult stuff, they get back to reading and eating. They do also get the fist. And Luther forces her to eat more because if something goes wrong on Corel, she needs her physical strength since she will be without magic on that island. Luther doesn't have a good feeling about whatever is about to come, considering they haven't heard from Doriel. In as much as they may say like, oh, well, it's a good thing. I mean, let's have some more time in the library, some time together, before we can go out and face the world again. Let's just have this time. But Luther just feels off about some of these things going on. So in their talk, DM shares the chain she has for Luminous, a governing council, like they have in Montios. Half of the council will be mortals, and half of the council descended. It makes sense. Luther is applauding the idea, like, yes, you should do that, because they are queen over 3 realms, so that you don't get overwhelmed. At least let them have a council governing each of those realms, governing themselves, so that you can focus on the big stuff. So DM finally talks of them having a house together and a life together. Build a house, you guys will have those goats, it's going to look like this. Before it was him talking about it, or they're joking about it, but she's intentionally bringing it up. And Luther is so stunned, he cuts himself over the chest because he's peeling apples. DM now rushes to heal him. And they're still like that, she in his lap, him holding on to her, when attendants come so that DM know it's time to go to Corel for her coronation. Luther is not willing to let DM out of his sight, even though they're like, it's only DM coming. So he joins them to the shore of the Sacred Sea, like in a vehicle that takes DM to the Sacred Sea, where Doriel is not happy at all to see Luther. With DM on the boat with Doriel, Luther looks miserable. He presses his hand over his chest, but something suddenly makes him frown. He looks at Doriel intently. But we don't explore that because these boats start moving. They are fast, like speedboats of today. This is Sophos technology that they passed Sophos' crown, gifted the other crowns to make trips to Corel quick. DM isn't sure if her mother got word to allow the crowns onto Corel, but she acts as though she's certain there'll be no trouble. Okay, Doriel finally banks in on that bonded bargain that DM offered a few days back. They claim that they need it to convince Maris for her. The knife Doriel wants to use, their hand open, so that their blood will mix and go, is so similar to the murder weapon at the site of Andrea's murder. And DM can remember details from that site very clearly now because of her Sophos magic. So Doriel now explains that it's actually a coronation gift from Luminous, like this sword from King Gunther. Doriel says that they have not been to Luminous in many years, and they're not lying. DM uses her Umbrous magic to verify. Again, I seen how these pronouns are giving me such a tough time. I don't know how people get used to these pronouns. They, them. Now, the specific words of the bonded bargain. You vow to do everything you can to convince the Maris King to vote for a pardon for me and my mother. You recommend the other crowns to do the same. This is DM now. And Doriel, I will. And you, do you swear that you didn't know about the attack on the island? Or the attack on my realm, and you vow to kill the man who led it? Now, this is double-sided, because the attack on the island, who led it? That was kind of Vance, okay? And then the attack on his realm, still sort of Vance, and Ophiakai, okay? So, although in her heart of hearts, Yem doesn't want to kill her sire, she knows it's the right thing to do. Now, once they're done with this bonded bargain, DM feels a sensation of shackles on her wrist. That is not good. At the island, there are 5 of them gathered. The others think they're waiting for 4 more people, but it's actually only 2, Aberus and Umbers. And the thing is, they can't leave to come back another time, because even now, the Guardians are hovering right outside the temple, glaring. They have to get this thing done today. Thankfully, Aberus arrives, and she's distant towards DM. She doesn't want to be associated with her in any way. With there being 6 people present, DM speaks up. She's requesting a full pardon for herself and her mother. She now says, in fact, I've committed no crime at all in any realm I'm not the queen of. The vile Igneous King laughs. The Igneous King, we hate him. We absolutely do. DM explains she killed Fortress in self-defense and freed the prisoners because they were held in inhumane conditions. He held children too. As for her mother, who's blamed for several attacks, DM is asking that they look forward. Mortals have lost everything, and the crowns haven't made it better. And yet they are caretakers of this continent. If they forgive Orally, she can stop Guardians from joining Ophiakai, and DM can kill him too.
herself. As awesome as her speech is, these people are selfish pricks. Regardless, Doriel keeps their word by voting and urging mirrors to. Igneous wonders why they need DM, and DM reveals that because she's possibly the only one who can stop him. They're both immune to magic. While the others are deliberating their votes, DM notices the space where Omnos' portal used to be before it got erased. It feels how with resentment, how the Kindred simply erase and forget things instead of answering to their crimes, and now they're leaving her to take care of their mess. She's not supposed to be begging the crowns for forgiveness. They're supposed to be begging her millions of mortals, half mortals, and then Ofiekai for the wrong that they did to them. So why is she playing this thing? That's when it dawns on her that she might have made a fatal mistake. She's not the side of these people who think that they know it all, they're doing all well, and yet they're just selfish bricks. Okay? Now, the sun is close to setting. Darkness is encroaching. And that's when the votes start pouring in. Sadly, Alvarez doesn't vote in DM's favor like she hoped, because she expected that would have given her at least, the 6 final votes. You get? So, at the end, she only has 5 votes. Sophos is about to decide what happens now that DM doesn't have majority votes when Ambrose walks in. Today, she's dressed like a majestic queen. And she's covering up, like queens you see, that they cover up and they have this cape around them. You get? I'm going to try to get an imagery of this. And that's weird. It's not her usual style. Even Igneous makes a jab at her for it. She's normally in skimpy clothes. So Ysel came dressed, according to her, for several coronations. DM apologizes for leaving the way she did and the attack on her people. But Ysel is so embittered by what happens that she blames all her centenaries' deaths and the half-mortals' deaths on DM. We know from the author of this book, Penn, that not all centenaries died or half-mortals. But yes, a significant amount did die, you get. But Ambrose is making it much worse just so that DM feels very guilty. Igneous doesn't think Ysel's vote will make a difference since DM only has 3 votes. Ysel points out, you guys, are you blind? She has 3 crowns on her. She has 5 votes. That shields the other crowns. They see her as a threat. Ysel plainly tells DM she doesn't deserve her vote, which makes Sophos launch into the plans they have for DM. They will arrest her and keep her prisoner on this island like it did Ofiekai all those years ago. Yep, history is repeating itself. So right now, DM is much more pro Ofiekai because they did this to her sire. They're doing it to her. These people are not about to learn a lesson anytime soon. So Ofiekai is teaching them the only way he knows how. And honestly, this makes you think no generation is innocent. Because if they did this to father and then daughter, and they did that to Ofiekai's father, Omnus, it's likely that they will never learn. So Ofiekai, again, is taking matters into his hands the only way he knows how. He might seem deranged, but who would not be deranged after being held for centuries? Sophos believes that DM's choice to let the Guardians go, when she spared them, means she has sympathies for their cause, that she probably might kill her sire to take over where he stopped. Sophos believes that they're ensuring that that's not the case by what they're trying to do. In the distance, a fire signal goes up, and with it appears Meris and Sophos' Gryverns flying overhead. The fact that nobody has their magic on this island and can connect to their Gryverns means that Sophos prearranged all of this while DM was resting. That bad feeling Luther had. With this, they're going to kill as many Guardians as they can remain on the island. Whereas O'Reilly promised these Guardians that they will be safe, it's going to discredit her as a leader, which is going to make others run to Ofiekai, the very thing that DM is trying to avoid. Daryl is confident that they can deal with, Ofiekai and the Guardians now, knowing that aren't they just in the Forgotten Lands? First of all, they don't know that they cannot, as descended, step on the Forgotten Lands. It's going to drain them, okay? And Ofiekai is stronger when he's on the Forgotten Lands. And 2, DM points out, you did not defeat Ofiekai, okay? I was the one that asked him to leave. He would have raised Sophos to the ground if I did not ask him to. Nobody defeated him. So right now, by what you're trying to do, your realm is not going to survive. You will not survive. Those are just facts. That's what she tells them. Now, Sophos would also be commanding their Rymarian army, you get. And the others are happy to let them do it. Command the armies, that is, because them is a common enemy. I mean, they don't like the idea normally. But hey, they're uniting against a common enemy, DM. So Ysel laughs at the spectacle. She admits that she should have trusted DM, as Father Umbrus urged her to. But instead, Ysel tried to force DM's hand. And the truth is, all their fates, the faith of this world right now rests on DM's choice. That is very risky. Ysel now says to DM, take the rosebane, use my key, heed my warnings, especially about my heir, and don't forget what you pledged to sacrifice to see your plans through. She's casting the vote in DM's favor when Igneous stabs her through the throat with Godstone. He's hated her for years, and now he's done it. Every single crown except Sophos, the lawkeeper. You know, Sophos is the lawkeeper. Pulls out weapons. Even DM came with weapons in her shoe. Giselle scratches Igneous with her fingernails, and inlaid in her fingernails, her long pointed nails, is Godstone, poisoning Igneous. It's as Giselle dies, DM gets a new crown. She has the majority vote. Okay? Igneous defiles Umbrose's dead body, much to DM's chagrin. DM's like, stop it! But Igneous is kicking her in her face, matching her face, doing very vile things. What? Why are you so wicked? You're meant to be the leader of a nation. God forbid bad thing. You know, Igneous is now still crying that, oh, this bitch, look at what she did. She infected me with Godstone. So Sophos is like, calm down. Miriam has a cure for Godstone. Just come there. You get, because every single infected person from the last batch we used it on recovered. And this is news to DM. But she does not say it's her blood. She wants to back out of this whole thing. But Tella is here. He's hostage. 2 guards are there holding him hostage. Sophos being evil might not be far-fetched after all, because this would not have been the case if Tella wasn't, back at Lumnos. Nobody would be holding him hostage here. Or maybe they would have, I don't know. Tella looks like he put up a fight. He looks injured. Even the guards look injured. DM trembles with rage. If she had her magic hair, she would raise this entire place to the ground. You get, if she met up with Ophieka in this state, they will combine forces for sure. There's still the technicality of it should still have a magic, considering that bonded bargain she made with Doriel. DM warns that their people will die for this, because Ophieka will come for them and she won't be there to help. Sophos is now like, at least we know where to find you. So the thing Doriel has been researching is to extend the protective barrier of the Hearthstone towards the entire island. So that means anyone or any being or Gryvern that's not a crown would die once they step onto Correal. They also bind DM to the island magically. This whole thing is going to take effect in sundown, which is just mere minutes away. Now, when it's DM's turn to drop her blood, because she must, since her brother is being held hostage, it's a struggle. She's told that her blood must be willingly given. Haba. Even in this situation, I have to give my blood willingly. Haba. Una check him now. Sophos tells her that they plan to treat her brother well, although he's going to be essentially a hostage to ensure that DM casts her blood every fortune day while she's prisoner here. So Sophos is now telling DM, I take no pleasure in this. I am genuinely grateful for what you did in my realm. Once Ophieka is dead and your magic is lost to the bargain, we'll recast the spell and let you go. So Sophos believes as a leader that they're doing the best thing they can for their people. So DM is like, Igneous will never agree to release me. So Sophos drops their voice and says, then we'll get a new Igneous who will. Aspal will just, we'll do away with the guy, and the new Igneous gang will not be as vile as this one. Okay? Now, because DM sees through their eyes what they think they are doing is best, she's able to just force herself to give that magic willingly. That's her blood. You get? And she's now trying to, tell herself, okay, look at the bright side of this. If I lose my magic, I won't have any more enemies because, I won't be seen as a threat anymore. And I can live a simple life with Luther at Luther's side. And the bright side is I can just be here while they take care of everything, It won't be that bad. You get, when you're trying to just tell yourself, like, maybe there can be something good out of this. But when they try to take her to that cell, they held Ophieka, she's like, no. In fact, she begs like a child. And she's ashamed of it. But she knows that if they put her there, it cannot escape it. She will become as vengeful and as vile as Ophieka, and she doesn't want to get to that point. Doriel seems to understand, so they don't put her there, but they force her to turn over her weapons. And those are weapons that could help her in hunting and building a shelter while she's here. Doriel soon enough starts running because, come on, time is up. Their guards too are dragging a kicking Tella behind them. DM is about to be relieved that at least the people she loves are safe. But then Tella, Luther, and Pet start running towards her. No! Get away from here! So Luther has crashed it to her like my heart. And she's not telling him crowns cast a spell to kill non-crowns. And it takes effect in seconds. They can't get out before then. DM crumbles. Her heart, her most loyal guard, and her brother would die before her eyes. She's destroyed. Oh my god. But then what's that? Tum sound. Sarai! Wasn't she chained? And who called for her? It would have taken 2 hours for her to fly from Lumnos to get here. Okay? Sarai heads straight for DM that now shouts at her, please, not me, take them, okay? DM is bound to the island. Luther and Pet, they're running towards Sarai. They throw up Tella into Sarai's clutches. So Luther grabs one of Tella's hands and Pet the other. But then Luther is slipping.
Like he's dropping to the ground. So a sacrifice must be made. Pet drops to the ground, okay, and crazily finds his balance, while Teller is able to now finally hold on to Luther enough that both of them now fly off. So Pet, knowing that, man, his end is up, he crosses a hand over his chest, kneels to DM as sunset sets. The moment it's sunset, he slumps. That's the hearthstone emanates that magic, and Pet just slumps. He's dead. Diane is torn between emotions and thoughts. She's just heavy on emotions right now. But next thing, a godstone blade is sticking through her chest. She's like, that should not feel so warm. This is Igneous's way of ridding off his troubles. It's Igneous came back to kill DM. And he now laughs over DM's dying body. The end. Oh my god, the author is terrible for leaving us on such a cliffhanger, but we are confident the final part will be released by January or February latest. This final part was actually meant to come out since last year, 2024, but the author was initially an independent author, an indie author, but then she got picked up by a traditional publishing house. So that pushed back the release of the fourth book so that these other ones would at least have a chance to be resold, remarketed. So that's why the fourth book, they're taking their time to bring it out so that they can market the first three. And at least the traditional publisher will get money for their, for their investment. So that's why it's not out and it's leaving us in this type of, what next? What happened? Yeah, well, we're all tortured. Oh, well, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So this is the end of our longest episode. See you in the next episode with a new story. And the new story, again, is at most going to have 2 or 3 parts. It's a very long story, but I'm going to compress it so hard, and at least it will be 1 hour or so every episode, 1 hour, 30 minutes. So again, like every other week, so I have the chance to market and do all the things. Please join our Telegram group just so that you can be updated, okay, on every little thing. I'm going to be much more active on the Telegram group. So please join. Link is in the show notes. See you, neighbor. Bye.